and welcome to FAF TV. I'm your host, Natasha Brown, and this is Say It Like It Is talk show. Hopefully, you have loved and enjoyed our previous episodes. This is another episode for today, and we're bringing you something that is amazingly important and also more like a surge. So, on today's topic, we'll be discussing millennials and the surge of non-committal relationships. Would you not want to get married? Would you happen to love a long partnership and not necessarily have that title called marriage? We'll talk about that here and more. Stay tuned, don't go anywhere. All right, so getting right into it, our topic for today is millennial and the surge of non-committal relationships. To talk about that, I have with me my amazing co-anchors here, the lovely Miss Favor Jeremiah. She's absolutely a public relations strategist. Yes.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Mr. Victor Siaku, the woodworker, come carpenter. And Mr. Williams Dawule, media practitioner, as always. I love to have you guys here. And for thank you. And for today's topic, now we are almost all millennials, so to speak. Some of us are edging away from it, Mr. Victor, Mr. Williams. But at the end of the day, we see that this is something that is happening now, where you see a lot of guys, they're not necessarily interested in getting married, having that marriage tagline. They would rather go for having a baby mama, not consciously, right? But they're like, they don't have any qualms with just having baby mamas these days, right? And also you find out that some ladies also don't necessarily care. Like, I just want to have a child by someone, and we don't necessarily need to get married. And it seems like it's a surge right now. Yes. Have you experienced that? What's your take on it?
Well, a lot of celebrities seem to be towing that line as well. Yes, right. So we see that happening a lot more in our generation.
Victor?
I think when you're talking about millennials, I think you should be separated into two. I think the gap is too wide when it starts from 1982 to 1994. So just imagine a guy of 1982 dating a girl of 1994. I think the gap is too much.
Almost pedophilia, but yeah.
Okay, so so if you may allow me split it into two.
Matured millennials, let's say from 28 upwards.
Okay, fine. So about that age, yes, you have. I think for the male folks, I think there are changes right now for the male folks, but for the female, there are issues. Why am I saying this? Because you find that they are scared, okay, and they see that marriage is calm. It's beginning to happen, and it's trickling down to the Gen Z. So I think that's what it is right now.
And that's just born out of the fact that with the advent of social media, and the world is now more closely knitted, where before now, back in the early 2000s, late 90s, most of these things will just be a thought in your head. You won't be able to propagate it. You won't be able to spread it. But now, we feel like we live closer to these celebrities, where we hear the thoughts in their mind on social media, because the video can just be tweeting from his room, telling you how he feels about, having 3 women in his life and having baby mamas. And fans, people that are, loyalists, will begin to be like, it's not a bad idea for me to, do that part. I've always thought about it. I think there's so much challenges in getting married. Let me just take this part. So I think all of that is happening to millennials. I don't know about the Gen Zs, but I think it'll be worse with them, because the part that they have told already, that one is something we'll talk about another day. But for now, I feel that a lot of this trend is as a result of, social media and the kind of things people see and hear recently. It's beginning to push them.
Would we say that people no longer see the value in getting married, in that term marriage? Is that the thing? That people no longer see, like it's not necessarily valuable anymore. Because if we look at our parents, people from their 60s, actually from 60 something, or let's say even maybe 60s thereabout, they were very much into the whole marriage thing. I need to have that name. I need to be that Mrs. have my kids under a proper umbrella of marriage. There's a man, there's a woman, we're married, we have kids. But the surge right now, we just keep seeing single moms, single dads everywhere. You're like, what is going on? And so is it that we no more see the value in the term marriage, or we don't necessarily think you need to be married to be fulfilled, or what's it?
I think that part of it is born out of what Victor said. He said the notion that marriage is a scam right now.
And where's that even coming from? Where's that thought
well,
coming from?
I think also bordering from what Abule said earlier, the social media and the internet has, made it in such a way that people feel that, it's my life. It's not a do or die affair. I can decide to live my life in this way and have nobody question me. So when you see things like that play out, I mean, of course, anybody would want to pick on it and say, oh, okay, yes, if I don't want to get married, I shouldn't get married, and nobody's going to hold me responsible for that. So with things like that, we see that it's bound to happen, and it's going to even keep getting, worse, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah. And, and we've also seen in recent times, we've seen people get married to dogs. We've seen people get married to themselves.
I don't know what to call that, but I know that's such an anomaly.
Yeah, we've seen it. And how do I mean by
to mannequins?
We've seen it on social media. And because some people are beginning to provide. So we now have like a free world where I can just be
do as you please
and begin to sell an idea.
Whatever rocks your boat.
And within a time frame, you will see people begin to act.
100,000 views.
So if people can marry dogs, marry themselves, go to court and marry me, then why not? It is easy. It's even easier to help people that are not ready to be responsible, to make them justify their irresponsibility. When you see a single lady saying that I don't want to commit to anybody, to what end? Well, we've seen people that say, okay, for my career's sake, I'm pursuing career.
Right.
Well, that one is to some extent justifiable. Let's say, okay, you dreamt of getting to the pinnacle of your career, so you're pursuing it. But for a young lady that's just off the university, no job yet, but you're already hearing her saying stuff like, I'm not going to get married, I just want to give birth to a baby for one rich guy in town. And then that's it. Now I feel good. From then I carry on with life. That's beginning to let you know that there's a lot of wrong messages, wrong ideas that have been transmitted in somewhere. I feel social media is really highly responsible for this.
Okay, because I think that most of the time we always want to put the responsibility on something else and not necessarily ourselves. I think that if you have conversations with a number of people, especially millennials, you find out that they're beginning to think, not necessarily that marriage is a scam, but they're beginning to think that marriage is not all that important. And where's that thought coming from? It's based off of what they have seen our predecessors, what their union was like. So you find out that most of the people, most Africans coming down to Nigeria, most people in their 60s and thereabout, we grew up seeing these people. Yes, they were married, but most of them, we found out as becoming adults that these people basically got together just based off of codependency.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily out of, I love you, you love me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't want to be alone. You don't want to be alone. Let's do that. That's one. Number two is another thing we've also found out is then it was a thing of status symbol. Mm-hmm. I am married. I'm a married woman. It was also a thing of responsibility factor for the man, where if you're married, you're recognized as a responsible man. Yeah. So if you want to get that contract or that thing, and in fact, your boss would even look at you, the married man, as more responsible than a single man. So there was all that dynamics that came to play, and then a lot of millennials saw that as kids growing up into adults. They absorbed it and they were like, okay, you know what? There's no need, especially because maybe, like Abule rightly said, they want to pursue their career and whatnot. But when we blame it on social media, it seems like we are removing the bulk of the responsibility from us. Because whether we like it or not, we already know that in fact, factually and statistically, most children born outside of the marriage dynamic, they don't necessarily grow up well-rounded and well-grounded.
That's a point.
Right. Relatively.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, so we just see a lot of millennials just say, I don't want. I was speaking with somebody the other day, lady, and she already has 2 kids. One is 11, another is 4 thereabout. And she was like, she's okay with doing the Oprah Winfrey type of thing. Oprah Winfrey basically is not necessarily
she
married,
married.
but no, she's not. That's what I'm saying. She's okay with doing like the Oprah Winfrey type of thing where she's in a long-term partnership with Stedman, the man in her life, Oprah
Yeah.
Winfrey. They're not married legally, but they're just in a long-term partnership. So that's the thing, right? And for me, it's not necessarily about the pros and cons, but it's just when we really look at this thing holistically, are we removing the responsibility of what we have become as millennials to make it look like, it's because of what we saw, it's because of social media or whatever?
Well, at the end of the day, if we decide to blame it all on social media, we will be deceiving ourselves. That will be self-deceit. So at some point, we might have to stop the blame shifting and just take responsibility for it.
Victor?
Okay, I think the issues here, why you are seeing the increase is because most of us in that category has refused to respect our parents. I'm coming down to the African culture. Okay. So if you really respect your parents, would you just come out and tell them to their faces that you are not going to get married? Are you getting
So
me?
getting married is out of respect for your parents? Victor?
There are parts of respect to that. Let me now tell you.
Okay.
Respect
I want to
or
hear that. I want to hear that so
Regard or
much.
respect.
Respect. Let me. I'm holding on to respect.
Okay.
Now, see. Imagine, I'm coming from the traditional aspect. Just imagine, for the male, you know that in Igbo we say your amala, as in your compound.
Okay.
You don't want it to just disappear. Amala Gechila, as in you don't want it to disappear. So what you need to do is you need to get married
And procreate.
So that you secure your side. Now, unfortunately for the ladies, due to our tradition does not envelope them, does not put them in that umbrella of sustaining their own side, since they will be married out. I think that also gives them that freedom to make such statements. For a proper traditional guy or man that the parents tried to bring home, you not be just talking about, I'm not going to get married. You already know that you have responsibility back home. You need to keep it flowing. You need to keep your name flowing down home. You don't have any other option to go and get married.
But then there's the option of having a baby out of wedlock, and
now I come to that. In core traditional compounds,
Right. I don't think those babies are even recognized.
You have to marry your wife.
Yeah.
In my place, you cannot go and marry without bringing that woman or that lady back home and do the right.
Yeah.
In fact, in some places, you will go. It's more like another level of tradition that some incantations must be done before they welcome that woman. Are you getting me?
Right.
African culture. Yeah, I understand that.
Right.
So it has made it not easy, okay, for the guys, because you know that, my friend. Yes, you see women you see them as a object of pleasure. Some men see women as object of pleasure. And that is why, if you check very well, that is why the hookup industry is thriving.
It's a huge part of the economy, all right? It's a huge part.
Deep into that. But if you check very well, you find out that, yes, unfortunately, I think the ladies are the ones that are being really heavily influenced in that aspect. For the guys, I don't know why a guy would be influenced not to go out.
I
Are we not also looking at the economical part, like where, like the times are really tough. A lot of men are crying as well.
That's what I'm saying.
Some men are like, you know what, let me just sort my pocket out before I ever choose to really legitimately get married to someone. But then on the flip side, you now want to ask, okay, so your economics is the problem, but then you have no issues with having a baby mama and having a kid out of wedlock?
It's the same thing. It's the same thing as having a baby and a baby mama
as having a wife.
And I think somehow it's even cheaper having a wife, because you can not have money today and your wife understands. But then a baby mama won't want to hear that. She won't have it.
But wait, even this whole baby mamas thing, it's almost like an industry of its own.
Yeah, it is.
So it's two-way. The woman is gaining economically or financially or whatever wise. So sometimes it's not even about finances. Sometimes it's just, I don't want to get married to you, but I want a baby by you because I think you're smart, or I think you have this pedigree, so I want my child to have your surname, or I want my child to have your name or something. So there are different dynamics to it, right? But the core of it still remains that we just keep bringing about kids that grow up with the mentality as well that it's okay
to be this way.
To be this way. Now, for me, like, it's not necessarily a part of trying to say, is this bad or is this good? Victor was talking about tradition. Now, we know that our viewers are like from different parts of the world and all of that. So there's also the part of westernization. In the Western world, you don't want to get married, you don't want to get married. Nobody's gonna do that. And Victor was talking about mostly about respecting your parents or our elders and all of that. If you did, you wouldn't just bring a child out of wedlock to them. There is that part of respect, but should respect be the sole reason that you choose to get married, even if you don't want to?
No, that's right. There's the part of love too. And I'm sure love will make you want to commit to a partner and say, okay, yes, I think I want to spend the rest of my life with you. So now I'm beginning to think that, does it mean that this class of people that we're speaking about don't fall in love, or they fall in love but yet run away from committing and being responsible, which is mostly what plays out most of the time. Yeah, so they draw themselves, okay, so I'm in love with this girl, but I'm not going to commit. I mean, typical example, you see Davido and Chioma. Yes, of course, they're already married today, but Davido is still hearing that,
has knocked up his older baby mama, the Atlanta one.
How then do we explain that, kind of behavior? So I think irresponsibility is just taking the order of the day. Right. That's how I say it. And a lot more young people don't want to be responsible enough to manage a home. And then, they're running away from it.
So it brings us to the point, or the fact that actually running a household is a responsibility on its own.
It is.
Bringing a child into this world, being a mother, being a wife.
And raising the child.
Raising in that whole umbrella thing, definitely is an issue. But let's not forget that there are different factors that come to play. Why, like reasons why people wouldn't want to be in committed relationships, like being in a marriage. For example, trauma. You grew up in a family where domestic abuse and all of that, or even your mother broke her back, and she was breaking her back, but covering for your father's insufficiency, which is pervasive in the African culture. A lot of our mothers or a lot of the women work so hard, but because of the way the culture is, let the man be propped up as the king and then the woman just take the back seat. So a number of us did see that, and he informed us to be like, you know what, I don't want to do this.
I don't have to deal
I'm
with
buying
that.
a house, I'm buying a house in my name. I'm doing this, I'm doing it in my name. No man is going to. So all of those, actually informs it, which brings me to this question, tradition. Victor rightly talked about tradition, which is a big thing in Nigeria, whether we like it or not, no matter how much westernized we get. It comes to play, no matter how much you've lived in New York, Australia, wherever, once you come back home, the culture will stress you. So it brings us the question, is our tradition backward? Or is it backward and pulling us into archaic times? Because things are quite progressive now. So what do we have to say about that? Our tradition, Victor?
They are not backward. Our tradition is our tradition. Unfortunately for the Westerners, they are just even losing their traditions, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
So, fortunately and unfortunately for us, some persons might say that Christianity really did a big harm on our tradition.
Yeah.
Okay, that might just be the reason why some men out there, they are just managing the one wife that they have. Okay, deep inside their heart,
they want more.
Okay, but because of the Bible, they are just there. And so, what do? They sneak around. They have concubines here and there, paying for their rent and taking care of them. in a coded manner,
Yeah.
and then running that economy.
Right.
So for me, tradition, for us as blacks, tradition does a whole lot. That is the reason why you see a black woman, be the woman in Nigeria or Africa or in the US. The black woman will not even mind whether the husband is bringing bread or not. She's out there thriving, making sure that the kids are
Taken
going
care
to
of.
school, are being taken care of. Okay, so I think that's one unique thing about our color. Okay, maybe I just have to use that word. Our color. Okay,
Yeah.
so that is why, for me, one might call me a traditionalist or what, but I strongly think, and I strongly think that marriage, the reason why our young persons or our millennials, younger millennials, for me, the older millennials are, when you are getting to that age, nobody will tell you, because when you get to the house, they will look at Agadi Moki. What are you doing? At 40, you are not married.
Which the negative aspect of that is traumatic.
Yeah.
Because
Pressure.
now you are pushing this Agari Woke, according to what you have called them, into wanting to do something that they're not ready for. So they're not necessarily doing it out of the readiness of their minds or their hearts. They're doing it out of this pressure
Compulsion
that I will face
and
when I
pressure.
go back home. So they just do it, and then it now creates a cyclical effect where you see unhappy marriages.
Yeah. That don't last at the end of the day.
They married because I'm tired. I don't want to be to get this jest from my kinsman. And then I just marry a lady and I just put her in the house, and it's almost like we're just there, just procreating, but there's no happiness, there's no joy, there's no love.
Yeah.
So that's the downside of that.
Let's not also forget about the fact that most men at 40s, at 40s that are not married, if you go and check very, very well, there's a problem.
Really?
Allegedly.
Every time?
There's a problem. If the guy, okay, let's say most times you will be like, okay, financial, he does not have money, The ones that have money at 40 that are not married, go and scrutinize them. There's a problem somewhere.
Such as?
Irresponsibility.
Right.
And that's just like the major thing. People are not ready to commit. A lot more people.
So if you're of the age of 40 and upward and you're not ready to commit,
it
typically makes you responsible?
Exactly, that's what I was going to ask. So does age become a determining factor for responsibility?
Right. Especially like maybe you're getting close to your 40s and you just go societal pressure. Let me just marry so that I'm not termed irresponsible.
So we're talking about lack of commitment for a certain level of people, and if at 40 you're not beginning to show responsibility, when then?
That's the thing that we're talking about right now. Does the mark of responsibility for a man? So for example, you're 40 or you're 44, you're 43. For a man, you're doing well, right? You're making your money, you're living good, but you just don't want to get married. Does that create an avenue to say this man is irresponsible?
Whereas there are younger men who are probably married
black
because they're ready.
Come on.
Okay, please. I don't want to deviate, but let's remember the wise saying that says a fool at 40.
This is not good.
But I don't expect a 40-year-old man. Money is not your problem.
Right.
I don't want to get married. Now, let me tell you.
Okay.
Many persons out there too. Let's not also forget the fact that many persons, young men that got married because of sex.
Right.
There's that.
Yeah, there's that.
A 40-year-old man, your body is agile. And you're not collecting sex.
Well, it's probably Okay, let's
You're not collecting sex, and you tell me you don't want to get married. My brother, my sister.
It brings us back to the question, the original question. It brings us back to the question. So there are men like this who say, I'm almost 40 or I'm 40 and I don't want to get married, but they probably will be getting the sex elsewhere.
Right.
So like they
probably the same I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. So
is irresponsible.
So basically,
at 40,
Victor,
you have money, you don't want to get married.
So Victor, basically your point is that any man of a certain age or a lady of a certain age who has chosen not to get married but yeah, there's nothing necessarily wrong with your finances or your mental state of
should
mind
be
or whatever.
irresponsible.
You're irresponsible, typically. That's what you're saying.
I wanted to
Yes.
take it.
That's
on.
what you're
I
saying.
should go for
Remember-
that. Should I? Okay.
Okay, remember you said something about tradition. So if we're going to bring it back to our tradition, let's go back to the 70s and the 60s and before then and early 80s. People get the age marker of the gap for marriage is between 18 and 25.
For ladies or for men?
Young men and women. So why are we even talking about 40?
Well, because things have changed. Things have changed. But anyway, I mean, this is already getting heated up because I'm already getting a lot of pointers. But please do stay with us. Don't go anywhere. And we'll be right back after the short break.
Hey there! Are you looking to record your videos, do your voiceovers, and take your professional pictures? Look no further. With our state-of-the-art newsroom, photography, kitchen for our food content creators, and exclusive children's studio, we certainly can deliver the best studio experience. Our carefully designed studio space can bring your diverse creative content ideas to life. We aim to consistently serve value to our customers far and wide. Come, let Tharv Media give life to your dreams. Tharv Media, a slice of infotainment.
Welcome back. All right, so there's another aspect of the show called In Other News. So we'll just get right into it. So of recent, allegedly, it was said that Davido's Atlanta baby mama, is pregnant again for him. And that caused such a ruckus, online, and everybody's just got talking about it, even though he's now sort of legally married to Chioma. So allegedly, I've heard about it. But we also see an avenue as well, Two-Face, where he just seems to have a string of baby mamas, just a string, even though he's properly married to one, but just a string. And but the thing is, even the baby mamas don't have any qualms with it. Yeah. I have a kid by you, I have 4 kids by you, we're not married. There's no problem. And Two-Face is over 40, so definitely he falls within Victor's bracket of irresponsible men. But at the end of the day, we see such trends happening, and then it makes us want to ask the question, why would a lady just be comfortable just having your babies and not having your name, particularly we're not living under one roof, you're not committed to me in any way. The only commitment you have with me is my child or our child. And sometimes some of these men are not even responsible. Let's not even talk about that. They're not going to be even responsible for the child. But we see this happen. And then most of the time when these cases come online, people are saying, oh, it's for the clout, it's for the status symbol, it's for the financial gain, at the end of the day. But it still takes 2 to tango.
Yeah.
As a man, if you're not ready to be a father, why would you go about just sleeping around with people, knowing fully well that one way or the other, a seed of yours might stray, right? And you might end up being a father. So it brings us back to social media and our celebrities. Do we think that a large chunk of our celebrities are quite irresponsible with their personal lives, knowing fully well that they influence a large crop of people, whether they know it directly or not, whether they understand it intentionally or not? Do we think that a number of them are quite lax when it comes to their personal brand? They just, do as they please, and they don't necessarily care the boomerang effect their influence has over their fans?
Let me take on that. Yeah, like I said earlier, yes, social media is playing, or not just social media, the world that has become a global village.
Right.
Yeah, it's playing a lot of role in all of this happening here. So, in time past, things like this were very common in the Western world. We see Western superstars like Michael Jackson and the rest of them with stories like this, where they have baby mamas and they're not married. Some of them died like that. But now, because of the influence of social media, we now know that down here, and then again, before I even go there, let me even also remind us that in the past, years ago, you cannot be a single mother and be proud walking around the street.
It was not
a lot of stigma.
You would have
There
been
was a lot
almost
of stigma.
stoned.
There was a lot
In
of
fact,
stigma.
your parents will hide their head in shame.
Yeah.
They'll probably, ostracize them, tell them to leave. But
The
today,
owner.
but today,
Clapping and singing you out.
today now, nobody does that anymore. Like, it's almost a thing of pride. Like, that I'm a baby mama for two-faced. It's a thing of pride. People are even envious of these people.
Yeah.
So you see, when it has become a trend that is becoming acceptable in our society, then of course more people will want to. How would I put it? In order to be a confirmed street man in quotes. Yeah, so I have 3 baby mamas. That's to add to the feathers of being street in quote. Like I'm street, so I have 3 baby mamas. Plus the fact that I'm the mom of the area. So the society has some unconsciously begin to accept madness as a norm. So
Crazy.
you see it now that people can now wake up. You see, the reason why we get up in the morning to go to work it's not because we really want to go to work. There's some days that I'm tired, I don't want to stand up and go. But when I think of the responsibilities on my table, I get up and go.
So wait. So without you being married, you wouldn't have been responsible. That's what you're saying. You wouldn't have woken up to go to work.
Yeah.
So it's because you're married and you have a kid. That's why you do what you do. So if you did not,
even as a single
you
adult,
would.
even as a single adult,
the fact that over the years, it has been instilled in me not to encourage irresponsibility. So that alone wakes me up in the morning and I say, okay, I need to get out there and get what needs to be done. But in another situation where you're being encouraged to always sleep at home, you will see it as a norm now. It will be a normal thing for you to wake up, lie down there, hope that food will fall from the sky like manna. And so now society is beginning to force these ideas down the throats of young people that it is not a problem. Times have changed where your parents and the community will not let you see your nose because you gave a girl or you got a girl pregnant, and all of that. So when it has become a norm, even our elders don't even have the energy to even fight this anymore. Young people are taking over the way I look at it, and they're taking over with the very wrong things.
Favor, I want you to come from the female point of view.
Well, I think that I'm going to have to agree with Victor.
It's also an irresponsibility thing.
And not necessarily. I'm coming from the traditional angle now.
Okay.
As much as the world is a global village right now, and a lot of things are, beginning to get adopted by different stratas of people, I feel that a lot of we women, we forget, we're beginning to lose sight of where we are coming from and who we are exactly. Okay, so we are African women, right? We're Black women, and there's this pride that we carry, or we used to carry, that we saw our mothers carry in time past. So my mom is I'm married. I have a child in the umbrella of doing the right thing, under the right atmosphere and all of that. But I feel like we're beginning to lose sight of that. So which is why we are openly, accepting some of these things according to Abule. He said it's madness. Crazy is now becoming the new norm. We are beginning to accept these things, which is where tradition comes in, regardless of the fact that we may not be able to, control how we embrace civilization, because, it's beyond us, right? But tradition will serve as a balance. So that's where I think we ladies need to, start looking back. So we need to start being able to balance it with our tradition. I'm an African woman, and where I come from, this is not really heralded. So what do I do? As I find myself in this space where this is beginning to become the order of the day, what am I supposed to do? I should find a way to balance it with my lineage, with who I am, with where I come from. So I think that's just
we seem to talk a lot about tradition, and that definitely breeds a lot of societal pressure on us as a people. So we understand that there's something called personal preference. We live in a progressive world, whether we like it or not, whether Africa is Africa or not, whether we have our traditions or not. We live in a progressive world that makes us see that you can do what is right by yourself, as long as you're not infringing on anybody's property or anybody's right or whatever. You can do what you please, what your preference is. So now we understand that there are actually partnerships where the woman tells the man, I don't want to get married to you, but I love how you think. I think that you're smart. I see that you've built businesses. So I would want to have your seed. Right? Because, no, honestly, let's go there. I'd love to have your seed, because I think that, first of all, we want the children that we have to be amazing, smart, genius, stronger and all that. So we see a man that embodies all of this. We're like, I don't necessarily want this umbrella, but I want him to have your name and I want him to have your DNA.
So the question is,
attached to mine. So no, but then these two people agree as adults, right? And it becomes a thing, and they have a child, but they're not just married. So would we say such adults are irresponsible?
doing
Or
what
they are
is-
lacking traditional values, since we are very much,
not
into our tradition.
not necessarily being too inclined to tradition now, but when you say adults, these two adults are doing right by themselves, who gets to define what is right and what is wrong?
Both of them. Both of them.
By what
You know?
standard?
Because it is no. Why it is right in this context is because it is a mutual agreement thing. It's consensual. It is, I have agreed, you have agreed, let's do this.
Okay.
And they both take responsibility for the fact that we don't want to be properly to traditionally married, as so to speak, where it is Mr. and Mrs.
Yeah.
But we have a child. We understand that we are in partnership. We are going to co-parent this kid intentionally.
Okay.
So there's such a thing as that.
So
Victor,
what
Victor, Victor,
values
you
are
have
they
to
instilling
Victor,
in the child?
Victor, what do you have to say about
You
that?
know, it's unfortunate that every year that we are trying to use that term that a software needs to be updated. So we want to be updating things. In Igbo parlance, they say Igbo neye onyara mora, as in weed can give a man person more.
God.
Why would you see how you were raised though? Due to update, you are updating things. Millennial, we've not really gone deep with the millennial things, but find out yes, mobile phone and drugs
Right.
are influencing the younger. Sorry, my millennial were the older ones. So
Right.
the younger and the Gen
Millennial.
Z, mobile phone and drugs. So they want to try things. They want to update. So the one that they are ahead, everything that enters space, they want to try it out. How can you come out and say, I like this guy, I want to have a child? Just like that.
Just like that.
Because I like what you embody. Because I like what you embody, so they say that we want to do this.
And
you know, for example, okay, well, let's even yeah, I know that we've been talking about Africa, but then let's push it a bit. Let's push the pocket or the envelope a bit. Elon Musk, he's not necessarily married to anybody. He just keeps having superhuman children. Right? He just keeps having superhuman children. These women consensually agree to it.
Okay, so
Why is it? So are we saying Elon Musk is also irresponsible?
He is.
By what standard?
So now, will it now be bad if an African man will now come say, you come to my house, I can marry 4 and put them in my house together. The same lady will say no. That she wants to be on her own.
Right.
Elon Musk is doing his thing as a Igbo. Okay?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Christianity has aligned us, like I said.
Yeah.
Okay? But in the real sense of things, if we go back to the traditional ways, my own side, my mother's side, she was a product of polygamy. Same thing with even my wife. If you go, the great, our great parents.
Yeah.
Okay?
They also had this.
Yes. Okay. So, and unfortunately, we are overcopying as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
That's why you will
Overcopying,
you will
okay.
see a black woman making such a offers that she wants. Okay, you. I'm pointing you. I want you to be father of my child, just like that.
It's just a case in point, you know, what was allegedly said about Linda Okeji. No, hold on, Williams.
Linda.
What was allegedly said about Linda Okeji, where the man, you know, when everything fell out and, you know, she got pregnant, the man categorically came out, you know, allegedly and said that you just wanted to have my child. Like you didn't even tell me like you were pregnant and all that. You don't even want me to be a part of my child's life. You know, so it looks like you almost just used me to have a child.
Still,
Linda
bringing us back to the
Okeji is over
non-commitment.
40 and she is well-to-do, well-off. I think she's even a billionaire or something like that. You know, so right now she's a single mom. She's taking care of her child and all of that. But these two adults got together at the point in time and they had a child. But she doesn't necessarily want the man to be, you know, her husband or, you know, categorically speaking. So when we look at avenues like that, you see that people are placing their own personal preference to say that I would rather not necessarily be married to you, but I really do want a child. And I will cater to this child, and maybe I will give you some access to my child. So we see what adults are doing, even though both of them are not millennials. But at the end of the day, it is a thing of, are we not looking at it from an angle where, as long as I have this child and both of us are choosing to be responsible for the child, even though we are not under that marriage umbrella, is that not some great measure of responsibility? Because we have both agreed.
Well,
We will give time, we
the
will
child.
co-parent, but we will not just be married. Whereby I would wear a wedding band, you wear a wedding, we start wearing matching outfit and all that.
But not all marriage is required.
I want to react to
Right.
the story of the Elon Musk and also Linda KG and the likes of them.
Right.
With this, by saying that I say they are irresponsible because there's a thing that happens to the mind of a child that is raised in a proper home.
Right.
There's no way we can replace that with co-parenting and all the so much
Adjectives or whatever we
responsibility
use.
that we see. It's not possible. So if we can do the research, we will find out that most of these children that came out as a result of baby mamas and baby dadas and all of that are the people that are giving us problems in the society.
You have
In
maligned them now.
in the Western world, you hear an 18-year-old carry firearms, get into his school,
Shoot
kills
up.
people, say he's under pressure. Because these parents, they believe that it's just to procreate. It's not. God gave us responsibility to groom. There's a responsibility. There's a part of grooming. It's not just giving birth to a child. Once we begin to miss that, society begin to miss it. So me, I'm saying that all these people, they're doing it for the gram. They're doing it, like I said, to score a card, societal card or whatever. But they are giving us a lot of menace. Now, if we are going to even be very precise, let's watch these children. The ones in our society that we already know, the Two-Faces. But Two-Faces is even trying. He brings his children together in his house and he has a wife that kind of like helps him to take care of the baby mama's children plus his own. Davido, looks a bit like that. I don't know. Linda Ikeji, she's alone and she's doing the co-parenting thing. But because she even has money, there's a higher risk that I know they cuss her out. God will help her. And the likes of those kind of children. So I feel that this madness should stop.
You know, there's the avenue of Zain Asha, a CNN anchor,
Zayn.
and
Yeah.
she used to be married actually. She used to be married, but I think the marriage was toxic, so they divorced. But she doesn't want to get married again. What did she do? Sperm donor? No, she went sperm donor, got sperm, and she has a child now. Right, and she's happy being a single mother in that category. So when we look at that as well, are we going to term that under irresponsibility? She was once married. Remember, so I also mentioned trauma comes out to play.
Yeah.
Where you've been exposed to some kind of toxic relationship with the opposite sex or with the other gender, and then you're like, you know what, I'm a short
Better
wall.
off without
I'm a
that.
short wall. So, but I really do still want to have a child. So you refuse to get into any relationship, non-committal in the sense that you've not necessarily seen the picture of the man that has the sperm or whatever, but you go to the sperm bank and you tell them what you want, give them your specifics, and they get according to that, and you have a child. Do you get what I mean? So there's an angle like that. Victor, you were about to say something.
Yes, this is not a preaching or altar call, but yeah,
Go to an altar call.
but for every lady out there or even guy out there, and you are in that traumatic space, okay, there's healing for your soul.
Right.
Because people are going through a lot. I totally
Thank you.
acknowledge
Thank
that.
you.
People are going through a lot.
Right.
But is there help? Yes, there's help for your soul. Okay? So maybe you just need a bit of patience and you need to go and try back. That is my own 2 cents. You need to go back. See, there is so much love for everybody out there.
I agree.
Right.
Okay.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah, there's so much love out there. And in as much as, I would divert a bit, but the ones that are so stringent, so tough, that love does not exist. Men are
I'm independent. I'm good all by myself. I'm good all by myself.
Yes. Please. I don't like the fact that you also call yourselves Christians. You want to live the life of Christ. Christ did not tell you to go through these ways. just because you want to satisfy yourself or show signs of ego and all that, okay? If you think you want to do all these things, please, if you want to minus yourself for Christianity, I don't know whether I should do that advantage. But if you want the Christian side, you go the Christian side. For an African man like me too, if you want to go the traditional side, which is a man can marry up to 2 to 3 wives, then we know that that is the way you want.
That's a Eula Doce right there.
Yeah.
All right, so we've heard all that we've said, and I've heard really very much insightful stuff. In as much as I don't necessarily agree with the responsibility part that we've so touted, but at the end of the day, of the session of our shared question of the day. So wrapping this up real quick. Do you endorse or do you not endorse non-committal relationships based on all the parameters we've looked at? And if you don't endorse it, why? And why do you also think traditional marriages are better off than, non-committal relationships? So let's start with you, Victor.
No, personally, I'm a Christian, so I will not go with the traditional kind of marriage, okay? But we just have to be committed. It is not, you just don't have to shy away from it. After all, our parents were also committed. Oh, come to think of it, with that commitment, your marriage will not just last. You just start having those issues whereby within 1 year, 2 years, everybody runs away because you guys have not made up your mind that this will actually work. So I think I just have to embrace the Christian part of it and will I say, be positive about marriage. Marriage is a very beautiful thing that I want everybody to.
So you do not endorse non-committal relationships in any way. They are highly responsible people, according to Victor. Favor.
I don't really necessarily agree that traditional relationships or marriages are better off, But then again, regardless of the fact that we know that people are going through a lot and there are several reasons for the whole non-commitment thing.
Right.
If you're going to do this, just do it right? If you're going to have to do this, do it right, under the right umbrella, under the right atmosphere. So, and if
what is the right umbrella?
Get married and be committed.
Oh my
goodness. Because like I said earlier, if a man is not committed in his 20s or early 30s, what is the guarantee that when he's 40 he will be committed? So I think it boils down to a mindset thing.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're commitment minded, regardless of your age, you already have the design that, okay, I have to be committed wherever I find myself. So you only have the same thing, the same value playing out in marriage, where you have to put in the work. So if we're going to do it, let's just do it right. Let this madness stop already.
Williams, my question for you is quite different. Yes. Is the part of personal preference. Do you think that is not a yardstick to get into non-committal relationships? Personal preference, it's your preference. You're not hurting anybody, but it's just your preference. So that you just want to have a baby by someone and not necessarily be married to them.
That is the disturbing part for me, where you say, okay, it's my personal preference, so I want to have a child. Like I said earlier, it takes the proper design to groom a child is for a man
father,
and
a mother,
like a mother and a father to do it. Now you say it's your personal preference, so you alone as a woman,
as a man,
you have a child and you're alone doing it. The child will suffer. That child can never be wholesome. It is not because I'm saying it. It is.
But
facts.
it takes a whole village to raise a child.
No.
So you might not necessarily have a generic wife, but you have your mother, you have your sisters that can help to groom him or her as the kid may be.
Most of them are broken. They are broken children. So you want to now raise or groom children that are half-baked into the society. And so when they get married, their marriages, if they probably even get married, if they are not already thinking that the way they came is the right
same thing.
Right.
So you see, you're beginning to create a chain of irresponsible people in the society. That's my fear with it is my personal preference. Fine, because you're an adult, you have the right to choose or do what you want. But how about the repercussions on the product of what you decided to do? So that's my worry about that personal preference, because from the beginning, the design of God didn't ever put us in this part. It is man's, decision to go this way. for their own personal comfort. And I feel that is irresponsibility shows when you're beginning to be very selfish. The moment you become very selfish, it is me, self, 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 self. You become irresponsible. You begin to refuse to see the things that you need to do. So for me, whether personal preference or not, I don't think it's the right path. I disagree totally to the non-committal.
All right. Thank you so much, Abule. Thank you so much, everyone, for your perspectives. I actually do think that marriage is a wholesome avenue to actually raise children.
Yes.
But still, on the flip side, I still understand why certain people get into non-committal relationships, because there are a lot of factors that come into play and we cannot underplay it. Trauma, domestic violence, fear. There's a lot of things that will trigger your mind, and you don't necessarily want to get into that generic umbrella called marriage. But I still do strongly believe that a wholesome marriage is a wholesome marriage. That is where children are meant to be well groomed in, because I think it takes a father, it takes a mother to be able to raise up a proper child that is well grounded. Even though I still know that there's still some single mothers and fathers doing fantastic jobs out there, but still, if we were ever to really influence personal preferences, I would rather we had proper marriages, father, mother, and a child, and peradventure you wouldn't want to go that route. Think about it again, right? And beyond yourself, the kind of child you want to raise in the world. Do you get what I mean? So at the end of the day, I mean, that's my own 2 cents, and I hope that you, our viewer, you've learned 1 or 2 things, out of all that we have said. As for the quote of the day, it says, "Today's men and women, more than just friends, but less than a couple." Right? It seems like it's the pervasive thing out there. And we would really like to know what you think. We would like to know what your thoughts are on this, because I know some of you would really be riled up, because, I mean, we've talked about a lot of irresponsibility on the show, but definitely we want to hear from you. We want to know what you think. So like, share, comment. This is Staff TV, and we love you, and we know that you have enjoyed the show. Remember, it is Say As It Is, Say It Like It Is, and I remain your host, Natasha, and with me are my lovely anchors. Bye for now. See you next time.
Bye.